everyone. Welcome to another episode of Contact Lost, where we are doing player interviews ahead of the WTC, focusing on Polish players. And there is a reason I'm saying players, not the national team per se, which you are about to find out. But first of all, a massive thank you to our sponsors, the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani, as well as our community of patrons who make all of this possible. So this year we actually have 9 Polish players playing 40k at the WTC because we've got one guy who decided to wander off into lands behind all season continents away from us, all the way in Eastern Asia. So Max, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. So you ended up playing for South Korea this year.
That is correct.
Yeah, so let's talk about your journey a little bit. You've been a coach on the Polish team for the past 2 years, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, too.
and you've then applied for the team this year. So, would you be willing to tell us a bit more about it? How did you progress through the process, and at what point did you decide to pursue your chances elsewhere?
Well, surprisingly, it was actually pretty early on. Uh, in October last year, I actually already ended up talking to Team Czechia that came for a Pyra event.
Hmm.
I think you were also there, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I wasn't at that one. I was at the
Okay.
November one, but not the October one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There I already was in talks with Team Czechia, who were a tier 3 seed, so they obviously wanted to bring a roster full of their national players, which was entirely fair. But they suggested I reach out to some captains in the tier 4 teams,
Mm-hmm.
and that essentially is what ended up happening in October, right after the event, because I was determined to play this year at WTC. I made a decision like as early as the last event finished
Mm-hmm.
that I was going to play this year, and I'll do whatever it takes. I mean, obviously, it might sound like braggy that I will, but I made the
Hey, you
decision.
need to have the mindset, man, for
Now,
the grind.
I think it is an important. The confidence is an important factor in and kind of believing in yourself. I don't want to come off as someone who's like demanding or too arrogant, I guess would be a way to say it. But I decided that if I put in the work this year and believe in myself, I guess, but mostly work, then I will be good enough next year to play at the event.
Mm-hmm.
And whether with or outside of Poland is entirely up to the selection process to
Mm-hmm.
decide. But I wasn't gonna like I didn't intend to come back as a coach, which I told the selection team in Poland pretty early on that if I
Mm-hmm.
was to come back this year with Poland, it would have been only as a player, and I wouldn't want to go next year, third year in a row as a coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, you started having the conversations in October, but you're still fully committed to the Polish selection process, right? Until like, yeah, until what point is what I'm kind of trying to get from you.
Yeah. So the thing is, they were this year was very exceptional with Poland because we announced our team like 2 3 weeks ago, if I remember correctly. It was super late. Like it was
Yeah,
unbelievably late in the season, and
that's true. I think all if a lot, if not all of the teams, or you could already find the 8 players they had selected, but not for us. That was the case, yeah.
right. So they kind of kept their their chips close, right? They
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to make a final announcement, and at some point in the in late June, I think, it was. I remember it was after. one of the other pirates actually. I think it was in April. I think
Mm,
I started to reach out again. That I realized that I had this intention in mind to play, I guess, to be a
mhm.
starting player on a team, and I still had nothing to rely on essentially, and I didn't want to sound like somebody who's demanding, because the worst thing you can do is make someone make a decision too early, because then it's always going to be a negative response,
Yeah,
right?
not the one you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't feel like I was in a position to make any sort of demands towards the Polish team, which makes sense, right?
Mhm.
I've never actually played at the events, not even War Masters. So I would say that from someone who's not sure about my skill level, like they wouldn't make any sort of exceptions for me. On the contrary, actually, like demanding this sort of treatment would result in me being like prejudiced against, I guess.
Ostracized, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to remain fair, and I was very open. One of the selectors, actually, my close friend, I would say at this point,
Mhm.
which can have its downside. For the record, he knows what he did, but sometimes you just have to be careful what you say. Uh, that's, I guess, life lesson in general. All right, not to get too distracted. In April, I started DMing like captains, and it was honestly
Mhm,
just that. I did submit for the mercenary form, but I didn't really put much hope into it, especially that it wasn't yet clear if at all a UN team is gonna even form.
mhm,
So at this point, I decided to like take matters in my own hands, really, and just went to the WTC Discord server and I guess started DMing everybody who I thought might be looking for a player. This was kind of based on my knowledge of the teams, I guess, the
mhm,
state of 40k in general, because there were certain teams where you like, because WTC is just a big social event for most of us with models in the background, so you kind of get to socialize a little bit, and sometimes you're able to talk to people about like if their situation is that they're pushing for a full national team, or if
mhm,
they're just starting. And if a nation is just starting, I think it's completely fair that instead of picking like making optimal decisions regarding team composition, regarding archetypes, regarding playstyles, and regarding personnel, they're just picking people who are equipped to go, because for some of them it's like half a world to travel, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And then the costs become high, and not
yeah, of course.
everyone might want to commit so much financially to actually go to a 40K event, right? Which
It's
makes perfect
insane.
sense.
Yes, right. I was gonna say, if you think about it, like what some like Team Australia, Team New Zealand does, like it's actually insane that these people like are willing to commit that much money, effort, time into traveling and all that hassle just to be there for the weekend. If you think about it, for us it's not that bad. It's like an 8-hour train ride from where we live, right? But
Yeah,
for them it's like
it's a three
almost,
day trip
yeah,
just to get there. Just
that's exactly
yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying. And the jet lag is insane, I imagine, from like 10 hours or so of difference.
Mhm,
So yeah, at certain points some teams are just going to be like taking everybody who wants to go, essentially, and that's where I went first, actually.
mhm. Okay. So you mentioned the form, but that's just for the UN team. Is that what it is?
I am
And
actually not sure.
okay.
Like I said, I haven't paid this much attention to it because I sort of wanted to make things happen a little bit more rather
Yeah,
than
no, I
just
get that.
put my name
That's
in
fair.
and let it to someone else to decide. Especially that when I was putting in my name, it was like already over 25 people or something,
Mhm,
and it was like this rubric was there that are you only wanting to go there if you were to be a starter, if
mhm.
you were to actually play. So it was like a question of, are you willing to be a coach for the UN team? And everybody but one person said that they don't
No,
want to be
no.
a coach. So like,
I mean, I think if you're willing to be a coach, you're just gonna go with your national team, right?
well, this year it's not actually that simple because you can only have 4 coaches present. So
True, true.
it's not that simple because of what France did last year with their own chef being there inside the garage. Did you see that?
Inside the hangar making the baguettes. That's a
Yeah,
classic. I
yeah,
mean, if that's the reason, then I think I need to boycott the WTC because it's just the vibe they were creating was fantastic. But the US guys, they had like 30 people on site,
right.
like
Yeah, they had
so.
their entire like place, I think, right? They offered their merchandise there. They had like an entire stall, I guess.
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I think one of the guys did have like whole stand and shit like that.
Yep.
Yeah, could be. But anyway, so who did you end up sliding your DMs to?
Well, um,
If it's no secret, that is.
I'm not actually sure if these people would want me to like,
Okay,
because I've
fair.
already
Don't
caused
answer
enough
that.
harm with like the captains are already gonna hate me. They're gonna have like 30 DMs each day. Can people merc for them now? So I wouldn't want to
Okay,
expose
don't.
any
Fair.
individuals to dox them.
Fair. So, was it just that an agreement between you and the captain of the team, or did you also have to like speak with the TO committee or however we want to call them, or was that like at the team captain's discretion?
Well, so I didn't actually do any of that. At this point, there was already a mercenary in that team
Mm-hmm.
of that I was joining.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are some technicalities that are fixed with this, it is not to my knowledge. I imagine it is a rigorous process now due to certain individuals' migrations. Like what is it? It's 6 years ago now. Holy smokes! 2019 was 6 years ago. Can you believe that? So yeah, there are way more
Barely.
restrictions on mercenaries now, but I can't really attest to that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's for sure written someone in a somewhere in a document. You don't have to bother a person for this, and they're gonna be pissed that it's all written somewhere. So I advise you give it a read before actually bothering some of the organizers to actually talk to about this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sure enough. Okay, so did you get a chance to, I know, train in any way with the team?
Oh yes, quite a lot actually. The team organizes a lot of scrims, just
Mm-hmm.
like we do in Poland. And I was actually surprised. I am not going to name the team, but after the final data slate has hit, like 2 weeks before Listlock,
Mm-hmm.
they have actually scheduled a scrim with another tier 4 team, which was like basically testing their and ours comp
Mm-hmm.
into going into the WTC, which was I think unheard of. Like at the top level,
Yeah, you
we
wouldn't
don't.
have tier
Yeah,
one teams doing that. Definitely not.
especially when like the sort of the live patch, if you know what I mean. It's a league term, but like the patch that the game is going to be played on
Mm-hmm.
at WTC, you wouldn't reveal your comps to anyone
No, no,
unless
no.
they were your long time training partners, because teams are known to like share lists, right? I think that's what USA does with Sweden, Canada, and someone else. I think Iceland, the team that brought Dark Angels a year before.
Yeah, that's the rumors that we have available to us. But we also have the Pyro events, right? The one in July.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I
that's
unfortunately
that.
wasn't able to make it there even on the second team because I was on holiday. And it's insane that you could be chilling on holiday and you could get FOMO from Warhammer. I think I'm getting addicted at this point, but it
It
was
might
actually
be.
the case for me.
It might be that. I went to a concert and I didn't have 40k FOMO, so at least there's hope for me.
I was at a
I can
concert
still
too
get out.
during this holiday. Whose concert was it for you?
I went to Opener Festival, so it was
Oh yeah,
Muse and Linkin Park.
nice.
So a big
Oh yeah.
blast from the past for me.
How are you liking the new singer?
She's doing all right, actually, especially live. It's actually I was a bit worried, but there was nothing to worry about.
Okay, that's what I heard.
It
She
was a really
does
good show.
live better. They were doing. Sorry, are we getting completely sidetracked?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, so I'm not gonna give my Linkin Park hot takes in here. I'll spare you of it. Unless
We can
almost
get back to it later.
unless.
unless, unless, yeah, you can carry on.
Really? Okay. I forget what I was gonna say. She basically didn't cut it for me. I watched they gave a performance at the opening of the Champions League final, I think, and I
Yeah,
thought
I
she
didn't
did
watch that.
really, yeah, I thought she did really poorly there, but like some of the stuff she tries to replicate obviously is gonna to be worse, especially that I have like fun nostalgia attached to it. So
Yeah, I mean, I think just like everyone has, right? But I did the mistake of before going to the concert in July of listening to the comeback one, and the sound coming from YouTube wasn't really good, and
oh
then
really?
live it was just so much better, like uncomparable.
All right,
So yeah,
that's a
that's
lesson
that.
for you listeners. You shouldn't
Yeah,
judge a book by its cover, and don't judge a musician before you hear them live, I guess.
yeah, don't judge them by hearing a recording of a concert. That's not the way to go. So where were we?
I
I
forgot.
think there was one thing I wanted to ask you before we were going to go into GSC
I was gonna
itself.
actually, if you don't mind, I was actually gonna say one more thing about the scrim because people might think
Hmm.
I'm critical. It's actually, I think it was awesome because it gave us so much insight. I sort of inadvertently became responsible for our composition at the event. So it gave us so much insight into what we need to work on, and I think it was once in a lifetime opportunity. Like
Hmm.
maybe I'm being too dramatic about it, but it was so good that we had it because we just could have focused on so many things that gave us clarity on what's there and what is not there and what we're ready for and what we're not, which like did wonders for us.
Hmm.
So I would actually like next year if I'm involved with Poland or South Korea again or whoever, I would actually suggest that if there's like not top tech, which essentially is what Pyra does, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you can see that teams are acknowledging that it's super beneficial to test your final ideas against opponents, and like both parties can learn from it. You can see that with, for example, Polish Chaos Knights list that
Hmm.
it has been borrowed.
Yeah.
Polish stealing from the Germans. What's new, dude? At least it's not a car radio.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, you can't go to prison for stealing lists, at least not yet. So
Not yet, right?
at least we have that, yeah, going for us. So, instantly, you're playing a faction that Poland didn't take, so it gives us all the more reason to discuss it with you. And you're taking Genestealer Cults. So, can you share what is the reasoning behind it, or is that something you want to keep secret until the event?
Well, so myself, I could tell you honestly everything about it. I think it's more like top one, like tier one teams that are gonna be pissed if I share my views, which are obviously not gonna be like 100% matching. But I imagine someone who has no idea and is facing this faction, like, and Genestealer Cults is just like one of those armies that hugely benefits from the reps and also
Mm-hmm.
the right reps, because like as we know from like Admech on Golonka specifically, right? It's a completely different game if he plays it and if someone else plays it, and you can get super bad reps, and it's not that obvious. So from my experience, GSC as a WTC concept is has a value in
Hmm.
just that you have to have good reps against it, and if you have bad reps, you're just gonna have bad matrix, which is what wins WTC rounds. Essentially, there's no way around it, and it has happened to me like practicing with South Korea. I'm not gonna out my teammates, but
Hmm.
three of them had completely unrealistic matrix estimations against me going into the game because they have played someone who played a worse list or had a different
Hmm.
approach to it, and then like after the game, like after we have wrapped our game, they were like, oh my god, I'm so happy I've played this because I would have like messed up my estimation,
Yeah,
my
estimated it
matrix. Yeah.
completely wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. I mean, I don't mind outing any tier one team because, as I've said, Poland's not taking it, so we don't have any NDAs here or whatever.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the state of the faction a little bit. So we have 11 hosts of Ascension and one Outlander Claw,
The Outlander
where
list, yes.
almost all of the hosts of Ascension look fairly similar. But I'll let you explain the nuances, and we can start with your list because that's the one I've got. Let me just try open it up. Why can't I open? Why can't I share screen? Ah, there we go. Let's put that on screen. Let's make that
Ooh,
the
nice.
spotlight. And yeah, I mean, in preview, it's too small for anyone to read, for me to read, but hopefully, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's a bit better. So,
Should I TLDR it? Because it will come down to
yes,
detail against
definitely.
everybody in this list. Like if somebody doesn't know what the units do, it's like Tau players in 8th edition, where everybody had Riptides and Crisis suits, but they all had different weapons. So the Tau players argue that the lists are totally different, and because of like support systems and drones alignment, when everybody else was just hitting the snooze button. So it is kind of similar here, and I do acknowledge that. So what my list is sort of unique in, I would say, it enjoys the concept of a critical mass. What you will see is that I have the most neophyte hybrids, which is the big 20-man units. I have 5 20-mans, which I
Hmm.
think is the only list at the event that actually does that. And I am so surprised that that's the case because from my understanding, there are two things that go into it. First of all, the meta is full of sort of anti-everything profile, with
Hmm.
Fortuned being a very good example of this because they can take lethal hits, they're damage 3, and they're also blast and they're full rerolls, so they can do whatever they want. And
Hmm.
they put out damage consistently into everything, no matter what they're facing, sorta. And Doombolt is another example. You just remove model or
Hmm.
model, plural. And the 20-man is sort of that, essentially, because it has so much volume of shots with boosted AP and lethal hits. It essentially is like uh, an anti-everything profile because you can align the unit differently so that you split fire or you put everything into one and it's a volume kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, the,
And
the bucket of dice
yes,
is
it's
what you're
essentially
looking
just
for.
that. It's a
Hmm.
nightmare to roll, trust me. You end up clocking not because you think, but because you move and then you roll. And
Hmm.
1 hour, like 1 hour 15 minutes, it's not enough. And then at a tournament to do that, I found that it's the case that if you don't think at all, just do, you end up cutting it really close, and it's like no fun at all. That's why I think another value of the host list is that at WC it's 2 hours per player, so you might
Hmm.
actually be able to think during the game,
Think of it.
raise
Yeah, not
crazy
not just
concept.
muscle memory.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you've taken the most neophytes. What does that mean in terms of other units that make up the list?
Well,
What?
so it does not matter that I will have less than 3 cars and less than 2 by 5 gene stealers. That is universal for everybody. I believe
Mm-hmm.
so. I have not looked at like the every single list to check if that's correct. I apologize if I've omitted someone, but I think it's pretty universal that everybody's gonna have cars. They're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have gene stealers because it's an infiltration piece that can be kind of chucked to the wind and just be resurrected now for 2 points, which is pretty important. And you definitely can see the shakeups in the list after the changes, because it was a very sneaky change in the recent data slate that some
Mm-hmm.
trash got their resurrection points decreased. So you actually have way more options now. You are way more flexible, and just including certain units in your list allows you to adapt to the matchup. And I'm really sort of a player to like toolkit more than anything. And you can just see that the inclusion of one bike, a one bike unit,
Mm-hmm.
is enough for certain matchups to switch to improve, for example, because there are specific things that they provide that makes a little bit of a difference. And the fact that they're no longer 3 points but 2 points means you pay for every single 5 man units that's in the list 2 points, which means you
Mm-hmm.
are no longer forcing yourself into a bad decision, and I guess forcing your hand a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just the increased flexibility, right? That
Correct.
whatever unit you need, you can actually take it without meaning you're giving up an actual resurrection point or a different unit choice.
Yeah. What I think my list is pretty good at is what I
Mm-hmm.
think like made or broke this list, sort of, which is the concept of critical mass, which I thought like 5 by 20 was the necessary number of neophytes for this list to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And like obviously seeing everybody else taking only the lead units, if even that,
Mm-hmm.
showcases that I might have been wrong on that prediction, unless I'm just that gifted and everybody else is wrong but me, which I would love to be the case, but not too confident to call it before the event. But um, what I think it is just a toolkit piece, the unled neophyte brick, I guess
Mm-hmm.
you could say that it allows you to sort of dictate the tempo even more, and allows you to force your opponent into bad decisions early on, which is like the place that I love the most with most of the armies I play. I try to arrange a situation where the opponent has only bad choices, and
Mm-hmm.
Host of Ascension in general is just so good at doing that, because like a simple case of you place some guys onto the objective, and if you're not gonna do anything to them, they're gonna sticky the objective. If you're gonna chip them off but not fully kill them, they're gonna
We're gonna.
regen and relocate with the icon. If you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna one shot them, they're gonna resurrect with points. And if you're gonna chip them off too much and they're no longer useful in this place but not fully wipe them, they will lift. So opponents
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, if you like arrange the situation correctly, sometimes you can make your opponents really think about it, which is funny because the biggest like trope that horde players have is that opponent they don't clock, the opponent clocks thinking about everything they have to consider because they're just not used to this sort of a jigsaw puzzle, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
get that. But I guess the only downside of that fifth unled unit is that you really can't rely on the damage, right? From it.
I would argue that it is mostly the case for this army in general, aside from 3 models which are
Mm-hmm.
also extremely unreliable. And I sort of adapted this way of thinking when I was playing against, like when I was playing Outlander Claw um
Mm-hmm.
last year, where the damage is incidental, almost like sort of,
Mhm.
unless you really, really need to kill one specific thing, which is almost never useful because you end up just flushing your own resources down the drain.
Mhm.
You just prefer to play as if the damage didn't happen or wasn't that important. But yeah, this army is no longer the index GSC that just drops in 4 demos, remove models, anti-everything profile. All demos was actually the best case of an anti-everything profile in the game, I think, except
Mhm.
from the Wraith Knight that's overwatching with Miracle Dice. But that's a whole another story. So
Yeah, that was a fucked up world we lived in for a little
agreed,
bit.
agreed. Remember when where the edition dropped and we had ninth edition ruins where we had windows in every single one of our ruins, and it wasn't yet said that there are no windows on the bottom floor. So
Yeah, and the first iteration of towering was on, so you just step into your ruin, you see the whole table, bang,
yeah,
something along those
and
lines.
Overwatch had no range. That was nightmarish. I can't believe we survived that. Honestly, man.
We evolved. Anywho, I'm gonna now pick another list from the
Yeah.
ones that you've chosen, and I think I'm not going to surprise you with my choice. Let me just put it on the screen. There we go.
Yeah. Not surprised at all. Right. So I would
So
say
let's look for the differences. And I'm looking. You're talking about them.
okay, okay, sorry. I thought you were gonna. Can you actually spot the differences? I'm actually curious, just as an experiment,
Okay, he's got one more unit of flamers than you did, I think.
too. Actually,
Okay, two. Ridge runners. Okay, he's got 3 units of bikes
yeah,
and no metamorphs.
yeah, yeah. The metamorphs are actually just an upgrade for one hand flamer unit, so it's
Mm,
not that big of a deal. Because I ended up discovering that one of the units of hand flamers usually started on the board either way because of turn one throwaway trash. So I just
mm-hmm,
upgraded them to a guys with scouts and feel no pain, which is marginal. But yeah, no metamorphs, but essentially Ines sacrificed a saboteur and one 20-man unit to still keep all his scoring options with hand flamers, which
mm-hmm.
is also nice because they actually can dish out some output if their AP is boosted and an opponent is standing on an objective, which is
Yep.
kind of nice. It doesn't require that much like the connection in melee, which I think metamorphs do. But
Mm-hmm.
he has taken 3 by 5 bikes. And if I'm not mistaken, he should have mining lasers because if does he have last
Yeah,
cannons on the bikes?
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
makes that
Wolf quad with mining laser
mhm.
3 times.
That does make sense because if you have 3 of them, you can start counting on some damage going through. Like
Mm-hmm,
it sort of changes just from move block and skirmish unit and like the trash clearance to actual threatening to like I guess you could kill a transport with it. It's not really
mm-hmm,
reliable. It's the sort of a thing that a good player relies on in 40k that they will never count on it working, but the opponent cannot accept the risk that they're taking because like if the last cannon goes through and 2 of the bikes they drive by with the grenade stratagem, then suddenly the rhino or a wave serpent could explode, right?
mm-hmm.
And something that the opponent has to respect, and it's a sort of an indirect way of generating pressure. And I think bikes are a great addition to an army. I think they elevate your early game pressure resistance so much because like I think it was a misconception that this army does not like being turn one pressured. I thought even with like some of my earlier iterations of the list,
Mm-hmm.
I handled it kind of fine. But I could see a world where it's like 3 times ACDC with Chaos Cults that they just jail it for a certain
Mm-hmm.
amount of time, but I thought you had leverage against that. Now you're totally safe against it, at least in my book, unless it's like 10 Death Company Marines or something outrageous like that, which in teams you have the ability to just dodge and not play, which
Mm-hmm.
like could be seen as a bad matchup. But now you have so much resistance to initial pressure to just hold off the opponent for 2 turns if they go first, which is not a bad place to be if you go in second in this mission pack, to drop down and start nuking them. Like you don't even have to uh, concede that much damage with starting multiple units of neophytes on the board.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, did at any point this unit choice cross your mind, or you were focused on your concept of critical mass actually being 110 neophytes rather than 90?
Well, like I said, the last 10 does not really come in play. I don't think it's that relevant. It just sticks your home objective against some indirect matchups, and against mirrors, it's pretty useful. But I never have even thought about moving down from 100
Mm-hmm.
neophytes. I did think about removing the 10 men, but 520 mans was always on the table and always mandatory. And
Mm-hmm.
the characters, the 4 characters, 3 benefictuses. I think that's how you would give it a plural in English, and 1 primus.
Maybe.
Yeah, beneficti, I guess.
Yeah, either one of those two, I think.
Yeah, and the enhancements were I felt mandatory, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else was really up in the air what I was gonna take. I did come pretty close with include cutting one more saboteur, because sometimes you're not able to leverage their abilities if the opponent
Mm-hmm.
is like kind of well versed into your army. I would say
Mm-hmm.
that's another like thing to be mindful of, that yeah, whoever needs to hear this, the saboteur's ability is only once per turn, so you cannot do 2 remote explosives per turn. But yeah,
From
sometimes,
two different units, you mean? From two
yes,
different saboteurs, you can't take activate them in the same turn.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sometimes you're not able to leverage that quite well enough, or it's like
Mm-hmm.
workaroundable, I guess. But aside from that, I think I came pretty close at some stage. I never thought about the third bikes, which is kind of funny, because if you think about the concept that I held on to the critical mass, at the same time I didn't think about 3 times bikes, because then the last cannons on them make sense, which is just pressure, which I would love to have. But like I guess I have to say it, but I am 100% being honest. I do prefer my own list over this, just
Mm-hmm.
because the extra 20 men that is serving certain objectives is way better in my opinion. Not for everyone. I do see the reasoning. I just
Mm-hmm.
prefer my own ways, which I think is fair. If you
Yeah,
go,
definitely. And I think it's a good place to be as well, right? When you've got that confidence that even if you look at a player of world renown, let's be honest, and you look at that list, you look at yours, and you say, "No, I'm good with mine," then I think that's pretty cool.
yeah, which is worth noting. I'm not saying mine is better. I just think I would play mine better rather than
Yep,
his.
100%. And that's also what I was trying to say. Let's move on to the next one. And now you have to tell me why we're looking at this one specifically.
Right. So this is from Team Czech Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my boys. I love you guys. I actually spent so much time with them, because I live so close to the Czech Republic. I've actually ended up going there multiple times for like RTTs and stuff. So
Oh, okay.
it's pretty fun. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So what we're looking at here is a little bit more of an old school kind of build.
Mm-hmm.
Can you spot the difference here? I think you.
Oh, Bomb Squad.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's a big commitment. It's a choice that sort of, wouldn't say forces your hand, but it is something that dictates the way you want to play. And this
Hmm.
list only has 60 neophytes, which makes
Yeah,
sense
I just
because we're
noticed
still,
that as well.
yeah, because we're still bound by the realms of reality. You still have to have initial 2,000 points. You can't go over that, unfortunately. But this plays a lot more into the star meta that was gone is gone by now, I think. But if
Hmm.
somebody had like, the bombs are still kind of a good anti everything profile if you really care about them being that, if that makes
Hmm.
sense, because they can get so much help that they just become, they could feasibly one tap, I think, anything in the game. Maybe not a big Chaos Knight with damage reduction, but aside from
Hmm.
that, and even still, it's close. It depends on your last cannon rolls with the benefactors, unless you want for reals. Okay, then it's a little bit more tricky. But this list goes way more into damage and actually
Hmm.
just dropping down, nuking your opponent off the board, and then figuring everything else later.
Hmm.
It is also like one of the best values you could have. I actually like the 10-man metamorph unit more, but that's just preference because I'm sick and prefer combat. But uh, the 10-man bomb squad is 4 resurgence points, which for the damage it can put out twice because all the one shots reset is
Hmm.
immense. And I just think that that's a choice. It's a great choice. And this plays differently. This maybe isn't able to accomplish as much with board control and limiting your opponent options,
Hmm.
but it has a lot of table presence as well that can fight off the screen and then set up the big turn 2 or turn 3 commitment from the bombs. It also plays differently into knights with relying way more on damage against
Hmm.
them.
Yeah, not the not grabbing them by the legs.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of the Bump Squad. But then I've always had doubts if the after the resurrection without the character, do they still do enough damage to merit taking them? I've never been sure.
Well, it's this sort of psychological sting, I guess. I never actually, maybe I did in very early iterations of the list, but I could never get rid of the pain of rolling the new ones against the old ones. It's like, okay, d6 plus 3. Oh, sorry, now it's only d6. Okay, strength 12. Oh, sorry, it's only 9 now. And it's like, man.
Yeah, it is a big change. But I think you can get wound rerolls, right? If the target's in the objective, so you can
Yes,
sort
that is
of get
correct.
around the strength reduction. But
But
the
they used to
number of
have that as
shots.
well with Strength 12. They still had
Oh,
that. Oh no, they had rerolls
okay.
of ones. Okay, they had rerolls of ones.
Yeah, so that might even out, but the number of shots, yeah, that's the tricky one.
Yeah, it
If you roll
stopped
for
being.
once,
Yeah, exactly. That was
oof.
the neat part when you care where you cared about the number of shots. When it was like 20 Necron warriors, you were safe to still one tap it if you rolled like more than, I think, I can't remember the numbers now, but if you rolled more than 12 on your
Mm,
46, which I think is, it was even less than that. You could have rolled like 8 on your 46 and you were
mhm.
still okay, I think, to one shot a Necron Warrior brick or something like that, just because of all the extra shots you were pumping out. I can't remember the math now. I'm sorry. Somebody's gonna be terribly mad that I misspoke here, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it was like +3 and 4 from the blast each, right? So
yeah,
you were guaranteed 28 shots just from that,
that is correct.
32 minimum. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and you ended up hitting one more for every 30. So
hmm,
it was actually 33 hits, right? Which is crazy now that you think about it.
it is, or
But yeah.
was actually. Okay, and then you did pick the one Outlander list for us
Oh
to
yes.
to talk about. So let's put that one up.
I am absolutely rooting for that list to do well. This is something. There was Outlander was my first contact with the GSC codex, like showcasing me that it's not all that bad. Also, thanks to Ines Wilson, which I told him in person, but I would like to mention it here. Thanks, Ines. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be playing this right now, probably. But yeah, it was coming back to the Outlander claw list,
Mm-hmm.
and this did see a pretty big rehash compared to what we have played when what I was playing at least when the mechanic was still to roll 3 ups, because now you're it's way less random.
Mm-hmm.
So the old playstyle, kinda, it's very simplified, obviously, but it used to be just jam your opponents with jank and reactive moves and reactive bombs and like battle shocks and lone operatives, shooting them, then forcing battle shocks, then moving away, then repositioning with Votan bike esque stratagems. But
Mm-hmm.
what the essentials of it was just throw shit forward. Apologies for the curse, but like just throw your stuff forwards, and then roll while you still have the bonus to it, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
wanted as
Yeah.
much stuff to die as early as possible, like up to turn 2, and then you started actually playing the game once you found out how many units resurrected. It was crazy how strong it actually was, because I sometimes found that I had like 1 or 2 units come back, if at all, and it didn't make a difference because it was actually that strong. It's obviously a downgrade from that. It's been hit by some nerfs, but you can still see the core of the trucks, the grinders, which is
Mm-hmm.
honestly awesome. You can still see the exact Ridge Runners layout. I would play in this detachment. I hope he has the mortar. Yeah, he has the mortar on
Yeah.
the single
It
guy,
does.
and then last cannons. The Ridge Runners, I feel, are way harder to use now when they have last cannons, just because of the meta shifts. But the trash you have just can allow you to leverage the accessibility of them to your opponent, if you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean. Like, so you're just able to place models where the ridge runners were shooting something, so that he cannot access it back. And if you ever mess up or you get jumped, you can always reactive move with them. You can 4-up invul or -1
Mm-hmm.
damage. I think it's not for them though. -1 damage
No,
might
no.
not.
-1 damage was for the Goliaths only.
Okay. Yep. And I think bikes. Huge, huge. But yeah, I am super curious in how these lists will perform. I can see the adjustments that have been made to facilitate the resurgence points change instead of just rolling for it. I
Mm-hmm.
think the bikes in these detachments are still ridiculous, which I am curious, does he have it with last cannons? Okay, that is an
Yeah.
interesting choice. I would not have gone with that. That is curious. Maybe it
I've
might
always
be a meta
played
call.
bikes with last cannons and
Really?
rock grinders. Yeah, for the record.
Okay. Yeah, I could see rock grinders being with fast cannons. I would probably do. That's not the way, but he has the
No,
flamers.
he's got flamers on the rock grinders. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
No, I
Yeah.
was just talking about myself back in the day.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Uh, I actually could have seen it the other way around, with at least two or one, actually two rock grinders having the last cannons, and then at least one having the flamer. That's what I would have gone if I was to play that. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it might have been the meta call uh, that the bikes have mining lasers. I would still prefer them in Outlander, especially to play them with the flamers, because I think as soon as you drop off 3 bikes, it's no longer that relevant that they have the mining laser, and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of lose the psych out, essentially, right? That your opponent has to concede some pressure, that you're gonna take 3 attempts at hitting them with a mining laser, aside from the drive-bys and the grenades, right? But I think it might be a little bit worse, but it's still has the same pressure because like obviously all dice roll are independent events. So please, whoever has this, I think Michael, right, from Team
It's
Malta.
Mirko from
Mirko.
Team Malta.
Okay. Uh, okay. So if you ever hit both of your last cannons and deal damage with them in a single turn, please find me and let me know at the event. I will be so happy for you. Yes, I am super curious how this list is gonna go because that's like once the WTC uh hype cools down, you know the thing that like as soon as you finish the event you start putting in random lists in your phone like immediately. That's where I think I might be going if I stick to GSC, which is not likely by now. But if I was to play something else that was related to Genestealer Cults, I would
Mhm,
definitely try out Outlander or actually Final Day if it wasn't for teams.
Yeah, I can fully understand that. And yeah, I mean it's interesting to see because I haven't seen Outlander pop out anywhere in like forever. So yeah, fingers
Same.
crossed it performs well. All right. Well, so we've had a look at 14 Steer Cults lists. I think we've got a fair grip of the state of the faction in the current metagame. So it's fairly consistent with the one audible that you might get from time to time. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode or part of a two-part episode. We'll see. So, most importantly, Max, thank you for coming on, and it's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
And
Always happy to talk.
and good luck at the event playing for South Korea. Hopefully next year you're back representing the homeland.
I do not have a good answer to that because I would like to both express gratitude for to South Korea for taking me and maybe play for my home country next year. But we'll see what the future brings. Right. Right now, I'm focused
Yes,
completely
definitely.
on this year and giving it the best run we can with the boys.
Man, it's like we're fully in sports and it's before match press conference or something. What a great answer. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks again and goodbye.